That's about 25% of his, or 20% of his business, right? But 20%, I mean, that sounds successful. 4,000 NFYCs for the year is 1,000 a month.
Quarter.
Or 1,000 a quarter, right? But then the next year he might say, no, I'll make it 6,000. But he's slowly building and becoming famous in that vertical market. So that's what it helps you do in starting to stay focused and giving yourself some type of definition of success. Otherwise, Derek Staley says truckers are worth the crap. You know, I only got 2 truckers this past year. You know, the truckers are terrible. Oh, okay. Well, what would you say is successful? If you have 30? Or something that's reasonable in there, so every year you're kind of raising the bar. But it only happens if you actually take time to pause and sit down to a plan. So that's all I got.
Can you talk a little bit about your chiropractic business plan from last year? So talk about what that vision was and maybe some of the objectives. So I think most everybody here is working inside some kind of vertical market, so maybe give an example.
Yeah, so I mean, I still have to, I mean, you know, like my vision, when I did this a year ago for chiropractors only, I did a business plan again for my business. But I also did a one-page business plan just for my vertical market. Why? Because one, Mike recommended that I do it, and I'll just do whatever Mike says for the most part. Because he said, well, how the heck do you know if you're successful? So I came up with a business plan for chiropractors, and I said, I'm going to grow my chiropractic into so much NFYC for the year of my business. And then also so much, I mean, I also had it in my mind. I didn't write it down because I wasn't sure how much I was going to work with vets. In 2014, I want to be doing just as much as chiropractors, but I wrote down how much NFYC I want to write from chiropractors, and I wrote that number down, and then I had all these different types of tactics underneath it that basically said, what types of things am I going to do? Am I going to go to their annual meeting? If so, look up when their annual meeting is and put it in my calendar. Am I going to go to their golf events? If so, put it into my calendar. Am I going to try to write some articles or create some presentations for these? If so, perfect. What do I need to do to make sure I get that done throughout the year? So I basically had a checklist. I had my recipe for success for the year. And then if you invest the time to write down the recipe, you probably should look at it more than once a year. Probably should be something that you do. Yeah, exactly. So all this stuff I'm saying, guys, that's the beautiful part about this business. We don't have to, we're not neurosurgeons anymore. That's the beautiful part. We just have to it's all the blocking and tackling the basic stuff. Where it's find a business plan, create one. Maybe you create one for your vertical market. And then here's all the different things you should do. Then it's up to you whether you do it or not. If you choose not to do it, maybe you'll still figure out a way to get there. If you choose to do it, you probably have a higher likelihood of success of getting there.
So what was that number, Chris, last year? Do you have any idea where you're at? I know you don't have final numbers, but ballpark it.
I wrote down 12,000 coming from chiropractors, and it was really probably a 12,000 for chiropractors and vets. Mm-hmm. I'm probably at about 10 for the year. 10,000 manufactured, or 10,000 NFYCs for the year. Now, there's different ways you can break it down. I don't know what my final number for this year will be, but let's say it's 160 total. 10,000 of that's coming from those vertical markets. That's not a high percentage, but at least I kind of know. Next year, I'd like to create more of that. So over time,
especially from what you did the previous year.
Oh, exactly, from the previous year, right?
10,000 to 10,000.
Exactly. That's definitely a jump in business. Primarily, though, what I like about working those vertical markets is they drive a lot of manufactured business. So I think my total number this year will be about 100,000 manufacturers. So I got 10% of my business comes from a certain area. Over time, I'd like to increase that. Obviously, maybe next year it's 15,000 or 20,000. That way you have some clue as to where your business is going to come from, because after you've been around long enough, a lot of your business comes from, you look at your file cabinets, it comes from somewhere in there. It's a little scary because I'd like to know exactly where that somewhere is going to come from. But you want to find some type of market where you know if you go to these vertical markets and go fishing in those fishing holes, and you go to their golf events and their clay shooting events and their annual meetings, and you sponsor a happy hour or two, that you're going to get so much business from those types of people or from those vertical markets, and you know exactly what they need. You know more about their business than they do, and it's easy and it's fun, and you become solely famous in that market over a period of time, and you're known as the disability guy, or you're known as the 401k guy. Who cares what they call you? You just want them to call you. right? So that's it. Nothing, not a lot of rocket science, but this is a good time of year to start thinking about next year. And you just, we can do all the you rah rah on this planet, but now it's up to you. It's always up to you for how well you want to succeed, and it takes a lot of training, just meaning going to coffee shops and doing some of the good ideas that are put before you. And it's not easy to do that because it means you got to slow down from trying to call people and set meetings and selling and all that stuff. I hate not working. For me, this is still work, but I like the front lines, call people, set meetings, have fact finders. That's what I thrive on. I don't think I do a real good job, as good of a job as I need to, so therefore I'm trying to always up my game for putting time slots in my calendar to basically make sure I go out and do this stuff. So I know I suck at this stuff, but I force myself to be better because that's what it would take to be successful for other businesses. So I said that's what I need to do for myself. So I basically force myself to do it, and over time, you just get better at it and you actually enjoy it.